Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. And in today's video, we're going to be making this clutch bag style gift bag with two pockets on the front and a front flap. I've made the bag the size I have because I had 4 sheets of 8x8 card of my chosen colour, and therefore the bag is come out this size, which is 8 inches across, 4 inches high and 2 inches deep. I've decorated the panels using a white gel pen and my dressmaker's tracing wheel, and then the additional decoration, I found this template in my stash. I'm not sure why I've got it, but I've punched each of the holes for the decoration and then gone over it with a white gel pen. And this has created this look. To create the seam look, I used my clear ruler, lining up the edge of the card with the lines, drawn my line with my gel pen, and using my dressmaker's tracing wheel, I've gone over the line to create the perforations. Each perforation has then broken up the white gel pen to create the stitch look. If you're going to do something similar, the one tip I would give you is keep wiping the edge of your ruler, otherwise you will find that you get transfer of the gel pen. And I did decorate each of the panels before I glued the bag together. So without further ado, let's get started. For the front and back panel, you'll need two pieces which are 8 by 4 inches. For the two side panels, you'll need two pieces which are 4.5 by 3. Along the 4.5, score at half, and along the 3, score at half and 2.5. For the base, I've got a piece which is 8 by 3, and along the 3-inch side, score at half and 2.5. Take the 3 side panels, fold and burnish. Take your 2 smaller side panels and cut away the bottom left and right hand corners and cut a wedge to create your glue tabs. I'm going to leave the top edges straight. Then take your long panel and just cut a wedge from each of the ends. I'm going to add the pieces together to create one long strip, like so. And then we're going to take our front and back panels and add them to the glue tabs. Before I do that, I'm going to decorate my front and back panels. I've now prepared my side sections by adding the stitched look along. I'm going to use tape just to get a cleaner look. Remove my backing, and I'm going to start by adding the base panel onto the glue tab and then pull up each of the sides to create the front of the bag. Repeat on the back, removing the tape and lining that up squarely. And then I'm just going to go in with my burnish tool and just press the glue tabs down. So that's our bag. And I'm just going to gently push in the sides just to create a slight crease in the top of the side panel. We're now going to make the flap. The flap is 8 by 3 inch, and I've just rounded off the bottom 2 corners. I've allowed for 1.5 inches to sit along the front, a 1/2 inch along the top, and then 1 inch to go down the back. Obviously, you can make your flap any length you want, but you will then need to adjust the size of the pockets. Decide if you want to create score lines for the flaps, if you want to have yours more fluid. I'm not going to put score lines in mine, although if I were going to, I would add them at 1.5 inches and then 2 inches. I've marked 1 inch down from the top edge and marked that with a pencil, and I'm just going to use that to line the flap up at the right height on the back panel. I'm going to use my construction glue and apply it just above my pencil lines, and then just use an old blending tool just to spread that out. Line up the back panel with the pencil marks, and then I'm just going to flip that down and just burnish that gently, hoping not to get any oozing glue. I'm going to let that aside to dry, and then once that's dry, I'll bend the flap into its shape. Whilst it's drying, we'll make the pocket. The gusset pocket front is 3.5 by 2.25. The base gusset is 1 inch by 3.5 inches, and two side gusset pieces which are 1 inch by 2.5 inches. And I've also cut a flap which is 1.5 by 3.5. If we start with the long base piece, we're going to score along the 1 inch side at every 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to make a similar gusset pocket to the golf bag video if you've watched that. And the two side gusset pieces, again, score along the 1 inch side at every 1/4 of an inch. Fold and burnish each of the pieces along the score lines, and you want to make sure that you burnish it so that the top edge remains flush, and you want each of the 4 sections to be the same size. So it is worth taking your time with this. And you want to fold them so that they're in a W or an M shape. Do the same with the 2 smaller pieces. Take your base concertina piece and fold it down so it's in an upside down V. Take the base piece and line the score line up with the bottom edge of the side piece, and make a pencil mark at the top edge where the 2 corners intersect, like so. Flip the piece over and repeat at the other end. And then we're just going to cut from the top pencil mark diagonally down to the score line. So we're just cutting off the top corner. Do that at both ends. Fold your piece back into its shape. Take your side piece, and you want the V pointing inwards, and slot the base in over the V. Add a dot of glue onto the top and the bottom ends of the base piece. Slot it into the side piece and fold over the front and the back edges to enclose the base gusset. And repeat that on the other end. And then I'm going to add quick grab glue to the gusset sections, take the front of the pocket and just sit it on the top. Once that's dried, I'll add that to the front of the bag, and it will sit in the bottom left-hand corner. Whilst that's drying, I'm just going to take the bag, the flap's now dry, and I'm just going to bend that over into shape and just gently shape that so it sits over the top. So once I've got my hook and loop on, that's going to sit nicely over the front of the bag, and the pocket's just going to sit there. I need to decide whether I want the flap or not. I am going to have the flap, so I've added a score line along the short side at 1/2 inch. I'm going to have that glued to the top corners of the gusset, and then I'll add glue to the top tab and around the outside of the gusset piece as I stick it to the front of the pocket. If you decide you want a back piece to the pocket, just cut another piece of card the same size as the front panel and then adhere it to the front of the bag. I'll decorate the front of the flap, add glue, and I'm just going to adhere that to the top of the pocket piece and fold over the flap. Make sure that all sits squarely. And now I can add my glue to the back tabs of the pocket. Line it up with the bottom corner of the bag. I want to try and make sure as near as possible I can get the stitching lined up, so I'm going to take my time with this. And once the flap comes down, the stitching does line up. So I'm happy with that. Whilst that's drying, we'll work on the second pocket. The second pocket is 5.5 by 2 3/4 inches. Along the long side, score at 1/4 and 1/2, 5 and 5 1/4, rotate, and along the long side, score at 1/4 and 1/2. Fold and burnish, and you want each of the score lines to be folded as a valley fold. So take your scissors, cut up the second score line to the second horizontal, cut up the first score line to the second horizontal. So we've got 2 thin tabs. Rotate and completely remove the first outer rectangle, like so. And then remove the outer square. So our corner looks like this. And then we're going to repeat that on the other end. So cut up to the second horizontal on each of the score lines to create 2 thin tabs. Remove the outer rectangle and then remove the smaller square. So the piece is going to sit on the front. The 2 tabs are going to fold in, and make sure you remove the score lines. So the 2 small squares will fold in, the 2 tabs will fold in, and the bottom tab's going to fold in and then over the top. I'm just going to take a slight wedge off of the outside edges of the small tabs just to help those sit in squarely. I'm just going to make sure it's the right size and it sits between the edge of the bag and butts up against the front pocket, and they should be the same height. I'm going to add my decoration to the pocket before I do anything else. Now that's ready, I'm going to add glue onto the small tabs, fold those under and adhere those into place just to start the shape of the pocket. Add a dot onto the bottom corner and fold up the bottom tab. And then I'm going to use my construction glue and add glue to the outside tabs. Take the bag and sit the pocket on the front. And again, I'm trying to get the score lines lined up. I'm going to add some Velcro dots along the front as a means to keep the flap closed. So here's the finished clutch bag. As you can see, we've got the front gusseted pocket, which has got a dot of hook and loop. The second pocket, I've added my decoration on the back, and I've used 3 small hook and loop dots to secure the flap in place. And overall, I'm quite happy with how this bag has come out. I'm not sure if again I would go to the same lengths as I've gone to with the decoration, but in truth, this was the last pieces of cardstock I've got, and therefore, once I'd gone down the rabbit hole, I kept going. If I did have some additional card, what I would do, and I'll just demonstrate with a piece of scrap, I'd create a loop handle and I would just secure that to the inside, and I just think that would complete the clutch bag look and add an additional element. But overall, I will certainly make this style again, albeit maybe larger. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.